Coming up on Lawmakers, Governor Sonny Perdue releases the state's reward for the apprehension of Brian Nichols. Talk of rules, decorum, and censure continued in both the Senate and the House. And advocates for open government rally at the Capitol in favor of legislation that would define and limit eminent domain. Those stories and more are next.
Live from Atlanta, this is Lawmakers for Tuesday, March 15th. Here are your anchors, Nwandi Lawson and Gerald Bryant.
Good evening, everyone. Also on tonight's program, a bill that would limit Hope Scholarship benefits passes out of committee.
And proponents rally at the Capitol to stop the abuse of power of eminent domain. But our top story tonight, a reward for Ashley Smith.
Well, there's been discussion over whether or not Ashley Smith will receive the $60,000 reward for her part in the capture of quadruple homicide suspect Brian Nichols. But today, confirmation from the governor's office. The governor announced today that she would indeed receive the state's part of that reward. Lawmakers' Jesse Freeman joins us live from the Capitol with the rest of that story. Jesse.
And Wanda, the governor did announce that the state would stay true to its pledge and deliver the reward money to Ashley Smith. Of the $60,000 offered by the state, FBI, and other organizations, Georgia has pledged $10,000. He also commended Smith's actions as she helped lead to the eventual nonviolent arrest of Brian Nichols in Gwinnett County.
She did what we asked people to do. As you know, reward money is an incentive for people to lead us to information to apprehend criminals. I can't think of a more classic case where it occurred than in this situation, where the tip from Ashley Smith, the report of this fugitive being in her apartment, led to his almost immediate arrest without future violence, without further violence, and without further harm to anyone else. That's the best of all outcomes that you can have in a reward situation. In my opinion, she absolutely deserves it, and we're ready to pay up now.
Now, last week's events have prompted many to speculate on proper security measures in courtrooms across the state. When Governor Sonny Perdue was asked about possible solutions, he said he was hesitant to jump to any conclusions.
If we find that we do not believe those are adequate, there is a role for state government. There certainly gives incentives and encouragements to have them keep the justice centers safe and the courtrooms safe, and all the people involved in that process say. That's a foundation of our society, our justice system. It's imperative that we keep them safe. I believe our local law enforcement agencies will be working to do that, and I would not jump to a conclusion that state intervention is needed until it's demonstrated that it is.
And Senator Brian Kemp, chairman of the Senate Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, has announced that his committee will hear from Terry Norris of the Georgia Sheriff's Association about courthouse security tomorrow. Reporting live, I'm Jesse Freeman for Lawmakers.
Thanks for that update, Jesse.
In the state Senate today, there was continuing debate over a bill that passed last week. Now, the passage of bills requiring voters to show photo IDs at polling places resulted in House and Senate Democrats staging a walkout Friday. Senator Vincent Fort said the walkout was a reaction to what he called the most restrictive voter ID legislation in the country.
You can vote us down, but you can never take our voice. We will speak up in the way that we see fit, at the time that we see fit. We will not be intimidated by threats. We remember what Dr. King said when he said that we have the right to protest for what? Right. We have the right to protest for right.
Now, Senate President Pro Tem Eric Johnson said that when Senate Republicans were in the minority, they never walked out when they lost a vote. Johnson called for more civility in the remaining days of this session.
Nobody is claiming that senators don't have the right to speak for their constituents, vote against bills, amend bills, and do their duties. But when the language turns to calling people racist, returning to the white hoods of the KKK, wearing shackles on the floor of the Senate, we've crossed a line. We've violated the decorum of this body. We've disrespected not just every member in this chamber, we've disrespected every citizen in this state. Do not question the character and motives and integrity of those you disagree with. We are all elected by the same number of people. We're all up here doing the job the best we can. Let's do that job. And let's do it with some civility for the rest of the session. Thank you. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes Senator 12. Thank you, Senator.
Senator Kasim Reed said he always followed the Senate rules and defended his right to take the well and speak his mind on any issue.
I've never called a member of the House or the Senate a racist. I do not believe that my colleagues are racist, and I don't believe that I know the hearts of people. But I can read and I do understand policy. And I do understand that policies that have an adverse effect on my constituents, that I will stand up and address those until the last breath that I have.
Meanwhile, across the hall in the House, Representative David Lucas spoke out today against Speaker Glenn Richardson's assertion yesterday that members who violate House rules risk stiff penalties. Recalling actions by former House members Brian Joyce and Mitchell Kaye and current Rules Chair Earl Earhart, Lucas said the Speaker is being unfair.
I understand that this is an institution, and you do have rules. But see, I remember when Brian Joyce back in the corner ran to the podium, stuck his finger in the Speaker's face, and almost an altercation, I stood between them. I remember when Mitchell Kaye went over in the anteroom, and that almost was an altercation, and I had to stand between Mitchell Kaye and the Speaker again. I remember when a gentleman on the floor said something that was not nice to a young lady. Now, he came to the well and apologized, but he said it. And we did not lay anything on the desk talking about expulsion or punishing someone. But yesterday I took the letter to mean a form of intimidation that if I don't do what y'all want me to do, you're going to silence me. And I have a problem with that.
For his part, Speaker Richardson has not discussed the possible penalties since he addressed the House yesterday and gave each House member a letter from Legislative Counsel.
This afternoon, the Libertarian Action Network, joined by Georgians for Open Government, rallied on the front steps of the Capitol against bills they believe are unconstitutional. Legislation dealing with the power of eminent domain and a bill that would keep government and private sector business negotiations confidential. David Zelski joins us live with the details of that story. David.
Well, Gerald, today was the second annual Libertarian Day at the Capitol, and among the attendees were 2004 Libertarian presidential nominee Michael Bednarik, who says government exercising the power of eminent domain is actually unconstitutional.
We're here rallying against eminent domain.
Do they know we're here? Yeah. Tell them that we're here.
Yeah. The Declaration of Independence talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But pursuit of happiness actually replaced the word property. The original text said life, liberty, and property. And the purpose of the Constitution and the government that it creates is explicitly to protect our private property. And it's ludicrous to think that the government can protect our private property by taking it away from us.
These groups also fought House Bill 218, which keeps business negotiations between government and the private sector confidential. The bill has been tabled in the Senate for now, and Georgians for Open Government want it to die.
So what we're going to do is disinfect 218. Yeah.
The Libertarian Action Network's director, James Bell, is in favor of House Resolution 87, filed by Representative Bill Hembry, which would limit and define the use of eminent domain.
We believe that the government should not be in secrecy. We believe that everything that our government does should be open. If they use our money and use our facilities to negotiate, we believe that we should have access to all documents and all records.
Now, one recent legislative measure these groups did support today was House Bill 577, a bill taken up in the House on Saturday, which repealed the fingerprint requirement for driver's licenses. House Bill 577 is now in the Senate. Reporting live, I'm David Zelski for Lawmakers.
Thank you for the report, David.
The House today passed the Georgia Residential Mortgage Fraud Act, telling legislators that 2 metro Atlanta zip codes are at the top of the Fannie Mae fraud list. Representative Edward Lindsey explained the crimes that the bill seeks to punish.
Basically what happens is that the property is purchased from a legitimate seller. It's then resold to a middleman or a straw purchaser who then takes that, comes up with a new mortgage, and then it is flipped again to yet another person. And each time the situation takes place, the flipping takes place, they increase the value of the property artificially until eventually the whole house of cards collapses and the fraudulent individuals take the money and run. What is left in the end as a result of this are three different victims as a result of this kind of fraud. The first victim, obviously, is a mortgage lending company, which is losing literally hundreds of millions of dollars as a result of this form of fraud. The second loser is the neighborhood, which in the end is having homes become abandoned and become discarded within their areas, causing blight within their particular neighborhoods. The third are homeowners around this particular area, which are having their values of their property artificially raised, and as a result, down the road, they're going to end up having to pay higher property taxes once reassessments come.
The bill provides penalties of 1 to 10 years in jail and up to $5,000 in fines for first-time offenders. Patterns of racketeering would be punishable by 3 to 20-year prison sentences and fines of up to $100,000. The measure would also allow the state to seize property being refinanced improperly. Representative Mark Hatfield questioned Representative Lindsay about the validity of this penalty.
The intent is any property that is part of the fraudulent conduct is subject to forfeiture, yes.
And that would include if someone had a piece of property that they owned pre-existing the mortgage application that they used as in connection with that as collateral or what have you, then that would be included within the scope of that section.
If they use the previous property to provide collateral to further the fraudulent misconduct, then yes, it could be. But the mere fact that they own property beforehand could not. There would have to be a specific showing that they use this property to further the fraudulent conduct.
Representative Hatfield's attempt to amend Senate Bill 100 failed. The measure passed 163-2 and now awaits the governor's signature.
The Senate was scheduled to vote on new congressional district maps today. At the last minute, Reapportionment Chairman Senator Chip Rogers asked to send the bill back to committee. He told reporters some new figures might require changes in the map, but it turned out those late numbers were the mistake.
Well, some numbers were brought to us that said that our numbers we were basing the original maps on were off. Since that time, we've now learned that they weren't off. In fact, they were okay, so we're going to bring the map back out. But out of an abundance of caution and making sure that we do this exactly right, we wanted to pull the bill back, take a look at it, make sure our numbers were 100% correct, and then move forward. We've done that. It was a human error, and we believe the maps that we have are completely comply with all the Voting Rights Act, and we'll be moving forward on those later next week.
So the same map scheduled for a vote today will be passed out of committee for a second time tomorrow. A vote on the congressional district changes should come early next week. Well, do you hate preparing your taxes? The State Revenue Service may do them for you. Today, the governor announced a free tax filing service for eligible taxpayers. Lawmakers' Chris Knight joins us live with more on that story. Chris.
Well, Gerald, those who are eligible and have web access can receive the free filing service. This service is made possible by a public-private partnership between the State Department of Revenue and several tax preparation software companies. Governor Perdue explained some of the advantages of the program. Improving high schools across the nation and in Georgia was the topic of discussion at the Southern Regional Education Board meeting with Governor Sonny Perdue and Virginia Governor Mark Warner. Governor Perdue says closely monitoring high schools' progress is the best way to start.
And that's the first step in the process, is knowing where you are. I call it the school board. We use a school board for essentially everything else in life, whether it's business or sports. And I think a school board is very important in academic as well.
According to the SREB, out of 100 ninth grade students in Georgia, 64 will receive a high school diploma. Governor Warner says one challenge is motivating non-college bound high school students to receive their high school diploma. He says offering industry-recognized certifications may help improve the graduation rate.
Because it is that industry-recognized certification that is the key to the higher wage. On average, about $5,000 in additional salary. And if the choice is flipping burgers at minimum wage or making an additional $5,000 on top of that, it's a pretty good option for a kid that's 17.
It is so heartening to see that the focus has finally landed on the 9 through 12 experiences that our students go through.
Reporting for Lawmakers, I'm Chris Knight. and we just experienced some technical difficulties. But if you're eligible for this free service, you can claim the earned income credit, or you or your spouse earn less than $35,500 annually, or if you or your spouse are in active military duty. Just one quick reminder, tax day is only 1 month away, so those who believe to be eligible can visit the State Department of Revenue's website at www.gatax.org. Again, that's www.gatax.org. Reporting live, I'm Chris Knight for Lawmakers.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, the House today agreed with the Senate that the Board of the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority, or MARTA, should be able to expel board members for ethics violations. Current rules allow local governments only to remove those board members that they have appointed. But Representative Jill Chambers explained that most MARTA board members favor the change.
This bill is exclusively about the MARTA system, and it allows the MARTA board to remove any board member who is found in violation of their code of ethics. The removed member, the appointing entity may reappoint another member after the member in violation has been removed.
The House passed Senate Bill 99 without dissenting vote. Also today, the House agreed that soliciting or vending in public transit facilities should be illegal. Senate Bill 129 passed by a vote of 150 to 4. Both measures now require Governor Perdue's signature.
We'd like to take a moment to correct a statement made earlier in our broadcast. The Senate Higher Education Committee was expected to discuss and pass a bill that would place a credit hour limit on recipients of the Hope Scholarship. The committee met without taking up that bill. We will continue to follow that legislation and bring you more information when the committee does discuss the bill. Meanwhile, the Senate today passed a bill affecting those who say their health has been damaged by asbestos. Here's Senator John Wiles.
We now have a situation where the Fulton County courts have over 2,000 cases that have been consolidated before one judge, Judge Newkirk, that deal with asbestos cases. But very few of those asbestos cases involve anybody from Georgia. We have become the forum because of one large manufacturing company that's in Georgia. We have become the forum for asbestos cases for people that have been exposed all over the United States. And so this bill is a compromise bill that basically says, if you're not from Georgia currently, or if you've never been exposed to asbestos in Georgia and you're not sick, you need to go back to your state where you were exposed or where you're from to sue the companies. If you're sick now, even though you're not from Georgia and you didn't get exposed in Georgia, that was the compromise that I supported. You still get to stay in the Fulton County courts or the other courts of Georgia.
If I were to become sick 10 years from now, would that still protect my right to be made whole and to go into the courts?
If you were not, if you didn't have any, if you weren't sick now, this would give you the ability 10 years from now that when you get sick, but I mean you can't, when you find out that you're ill, you can't wait. The statute starts running when you find out you're ill. That's that. And I'm in the same, to the gentleman from 33rd, I'm the same boat that you are. I actually worked around asbestos products when I was in high school. And I've had no diagnosis of an injury, but at some point later I could.
Further yield.
Our yield.
Would you tell us what the statute of limitations is from the time you get sick? Now, what it has been and what it is with this bill, if it's the same?
Under the current Georgia law, personal injury is a 2-year statute of limitations.
House Bill 416 passed by substitute, and it goes to the House. Now we'd like to go back to that story about how you can get your taxes done for free. The State Revenue Service may do them for you. The governor announced a free tax filing service for eligible taxpayers, and here he explains some of the advantages of that program.
First of all, these products make it easier to file for taxpayers to claim the credits and the deductions that you're entitled to. Secondly, they allow the taxpayer to file electronically. And if you combine that with direct deposit, you can get your money back sooner. And that's important, in just a matter of days. Thirdly, these products are safe, secure, and comply with federal and state laws protecting taxpayer information. Fourth, it costs less for our state and our federal government to process your returns.
And in other news, the House today passed legislation that would revise the current 90-day program for youth offenders. House Non-Civil Judiciary Chairman David Ralston introduced Senate Bill 134 in the House, which reduces the maximum sentence from 60 to 90 days in youth development campuses. Lawmakers David Zelski has more on Senate Bill 134.
What this bill will do is shorten the period from 90 to 60 days for locking up some of the more violent offenders and focus the resources in the juvenile justice system on community-based programs such as counseling, drug rehabilitation, and other things of that nature, and keep the children at home as opposed to put them in these programs.
Department of Juvenile Justice Commissioner Albert Murray says Senate Bill 134 is just one of a few bills he supports, which aims to revamp the department. He begins with Senate Bill 136.
Establish bail rights for juvenile offenders and make more clear who can bail a juvenile out and under what circumstances. Senate Bill 135 will address those juveniles who are charged in Superior Court. It will assure a right to a speedy trial for those juveniles as opposed to them waiting for long periods of time in detention for a trial date.
Senate Bills 135 and 136 are expected to be voted on in committee tomorrow. Senate Bill 134 now goes to Governor Perdue. Reporting for Lawmakers, I'm David Zelski.
The Health and Human Services Committee gave a do-pass recommendation today to a proposed statewide smoking ban, but not without some changes. Lawmakers Angelina Washington joins us live from the Capitol with more. Angelina.
Gerald, Senate Bill 90, known as the Georgia Smoke-Free Air Act of 2005, is a bill prohibiting smoking in almost all public areas. The House committee substitute would exempt bars and restaurants that exclusively serve individuals 18 and over from that ban.
We listen to a lot of our establishments that specialize in the more mature clientele, do not serve a lot of children. They have a lot of patrons that smoke. They feel that that's a decision that those individuals are making. We were concerned about the economic impact it could have on restaurants across the state that have always specialized in bar business, cigar bars, things of that nature. A child usually cannot choose where to go with his parents or her parents. Adults can. Adults can choose not to go into a bar where there is smoking taking place. I can make that choice. But my son and daughter could not make that choice by traveling with me into a chain restaurant that could be providing smoking. We didn't have that provision in there.
Although the Georgia Smoke-Free Air Act did receive some changes, Representative Stacey Reese said he is confident that the bill is still a good piece of legislation.
I believe it's a bill that Georgians will be proud of, a bill that Georgians will be satisfied with, and it provides those of us that believe we should have clean, fresh air on a daily basis in most all places we travel that would be able to do that.
Senate Bill 90 now goes to House Rules and is expected to be on the House floor as early as next week. Reporting live, I'm Angelina Washington for Lawmakers.
Thank you, Angelina.
Governor Sonny Perdue helped unveil the newest painting to adorn the walls of the Capitol today. Lawmakers Ashley Poland has the details.
Members of the Rome Area Heritage Foundation unveiled a portrait of Ellen Wilson, wife of 28th President Woodrow Wilson, this morning. First Lady Ellen Wilson graduated from the Rome Female Academy in 1866. Wilson was widely considered the White House's first true progressive reformist.
She toured the slums with some of her progressive reform friends that were part of the National Civic League and began to see the terrible living conditions and fought until her death to have a bill passed that would create a way to improve some of those slums.
The artist, Susan Royal, spent 8 months on the portrait using fine oils on canvas.
They're really done in just 4 colors. They're alizarin red and Viridian green and a cadmium yellow and a little bit of black, and that's it.
Wilson's portrait now hangs proudly outside Georgia's House of Representatives. Reporting for Lawmakers, I'm Ashley Poland.
And the permanent home of First Lady Wilson's portrait will, of course, be just outside the chambers of the House of Representatives. Susan Royal, the artist from Somerville that created that portrait, also designed Georgia's quarter.
On Saturday, the House and Senate repealed some old Georgia laws they believed had become unnecessary in today's society. It's laws like that that prompted lawmakers David Zelski to go out and investigate a few laws the legislature decided not to repeal this year.
The story of this day is that Republicans now in control of the executive branch and the legislative branch are taking the opportunity to take laws off the books that Democrats left on there for decades.
It looks like the Georgia legislature is going to tackle a few of these so-called dated laws, but there are some they may have missed, and I'm going to show you. I took our investigative team out to the streets of Georgia to test some of these laws and crack down on which are being enforced and a few that are being blatantly ignored. In Georgia, simple battery is legal if, of course, it's provoked by fighting words. Isn't that right, stupid? Are those fighting words? Yeah. The ladies you see behind me may seem harmless right now, but if they turn around, you'll see ice cream cones in their back pocket. That is illegal on Sundays in Georgia. But today, not being Sunday, I'm going to let it slide. What I'm doing right now, though goofy and idiotic, is actually not illegal in Georgia. But if I were to get out of this bathtub and put a donkey in here, the cops might be busting down this door. Maybe you already know that all signs in Georgia must be in English. Well, after our investigation, we'll show you exclusive footage of a part of the state the cops must have overlooked. Yes, Georgia laws are tough, but then you have laws in local jurisdictions like Athens, Clark County. We're at a fair, you can't make a disturbing noise like this. And in Quitman, Georgia, it's actually illegal for a chicken to cross the road. And don't ask why. Or in Jonesboro, Georgia, where it's illegal to say the phrase, we caught someone earlier today doing just that. Oh boy, 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 oh boy. After today, many laws in Georgia that people may find unnecessary will change, but beware, many will still remain. So talk to your legislator. Ask them, when will you be able to carry ice cream in your front pocket? When will the constitutional right of free speech be granted in Jonesboro? And when will donkeys be allowed to bathe comfortably in a bathtub? Yes, many laws were changed today, but let me leave you with this one final thought. Will it be enough? I'm David Zelski for Lawmakers.
Well, if you paid close attention, and I'm sure you did, you'll notice that David did not break any of the laws he covered. I also must note that no donkeys or dogs wearing bunny ears were harmed in the production of that story.
That's good to know. Well, Lawmakers will not be broadcast tomorrow because the Georgia General Assembly will be in recess. Lawmakers returns Thursday, March 17th at 7 p.m. If you missed any part of this broadcast, tune in when Lawmakers is rebroadcast tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. on GPB. And just a reminder for those of you with access to the Internet, you can watch Lawmakers online. Lawmakers is streamed live and then archived on our website every night that we're on the air. Now stay tuned as host Alan Alda takes a look at Cars That Think on Scientific American Frontiers. That program's coming up next here on Georgia Public Broadcasting.
And that is our broadcast for this, the 33rd Legislative Day of the Georgia General Assembly. I'm Gerald Bryant.
And I'm Wendy Lawson. For all of us here at Lawmakers, good night.
Good night.
This has been a production of Georgia Public Broadcasting.